Hello everybody, welcome to another episode, and here I am in my yard with all my mango trees, and a lot of these mango trees are very new mango trees. They're from the DeZill High Performance Nursery with a lot of new flavors and everything else out, but today I'm talking about a classic. This is an Edward tree. It's actually the latest mango tree that I put in my yard. I've been wanting to get one for a while, and I first heard about this from Alex at Tropical Acres Farm. In that place, there's so much history with the Edward tree. They have 60 Edward trees there. So Alex had a lot of information to share. When I recently went there, I got to taste one of an early season Edward tree mango, and he gave me a lot of information about the Edward tree that I didn't know about. And of all the world, this is the best place to grow mangoes here in South Florida and West Palm Beach. And the Edward tree has been around for quite a while, and there's a lot of good history and information. A lot of these new varieties, these ZIL varieties and so on, have actually, this is the parenting tree of it. So we're going to hear Alex right now talk about the history of the Edward tree. So here we go. So this is an Edward, right?
Yeah, so these are Edward mangoes. Now, this is not prototypical size for Edward. It's normal for these real early ones to be on the small side. I mean, this is about as small as an Edward mango will typically ever get. They don't really develop to their full size when they've been growing during the winter, essentially, which is these would have been fruit from a bloom that would have occurred maybe in October or November. And it's not unusual for us to have some bloom at that point in time, regardless of the weather condition. But these are Edward mangoes. So Edward is a mango that was selected in Miami, and it was named after a man named Edward Simmons. Edward Simmons was the head of the USDA's plant introduction garden in Miami at the turn of the 20th century. And at that time, they were introducing a lot of different varieties of mangoes to South Florida, many of which were from India. Some of them were from Southeast Asia, modern Vietnam, places like that. And so a lot of varieties were being brought here, but it was being found that a lot of them weren't so successful because they were being brought from a different climate, different soil, that kind of thing, and introduced to a new place where they might have grown, but they didn't necessarily fruit very well, or the fruit's quality was different from their homelands. And so at that point in time, when Edward Simmons was active in the teens and 20s and so forth, they were trying to improve mango options for growers in Florida. And so the Hayden mango got selected around 1910, and that was a huge deal. When the Hayden mango got selected in Miami, they immediately recognized that this was like a really important cultivar that needed to be preserved and propagated. So the Hayden quickly became like the most grafted mango in Florida. But the Hayden mango wasn't without its problems. It had issues with production, disease, and consistency and that kind of thing. So they wanted to improve the Hayden mango. And Edward Simmons, he thought he could improve the Hayden by crossbreeding it with some other varieties that were available back then that they had introduced from other countries. One of those was the Philippine mango. So Edward Simmons made several crosses between the Hayden and the Philippine, or the Carabao mango as it's known. One of those crosses presumably was the Edward. We're pretty sure it has what we would call an Indo-Chinese origin, probably Carabao, the Philippine, but there's been disputed studies over that were done with genetic material. But anyway, it was a Hayden seedling. So this mango was a seedling of the Hayden, selected by Edward Simmons during the 1920s, one of his crosses, and he hand-pollinated them, hand-crossed them himself. Edward Simmons passed away in the 30s, and at that point in time there was no name for his crosses. They were, people in horticulture in South Florida were aware of them, but they had no names. They had numbers, Hayden by Carabao number, whatever. David Sturrock, who owned this property, was friends with Edward Simmons, very familiar with him, and after Edward Simmons passed away, he came to the property was then owned by Mrs. Simmons' wife. He came and preserved some of these mangoes that Edward Simmons had bred. And so there was two in particular that they recognized. One was this one, the Edward. The other was a mango they named the Simmons. So the Edward mango was named Edward by the Sturrocks, by David Sturrock and Tom Stark. They were the first people to publicize the name of this mango. And they grafted it here in West Palm Beach, and that was how it entered the the conscience of the Florida mango trade, so to speak. And it did catch on. It's very popular, became one of the widely recognized mangoes of Florida. To this day, a lot of people think this is their favorite mango, say this is their favorite mango. And it is certainly a mango that's held up to the test of time. Today it's one of our most popular mangoes that we sell and grow. And it did have a reputation that it developed as being kind of a shy producer, though, and that kind of limited its adaptability to certain areas. However, they do grow this mango on a little bit of a commercial scale down in South America and some areas where it does well. But here in Florida, you know, we're probably one of the only farms that has quite a few of these. I mean, we've got about 60 of them, you know, dozens of big old Edward trees, and a few younger ones too. It was used in Gary Zill's breeding program, and it is the parent of a lot of the newer, exciting mangoes. It's the parent of Coconut Cream, it's the parent of Seacrest, it's the parent of Sugarloaf, it's the parent of Harvest Moon, a number of other, quite a few, most of the better, newer mangoes are Edward seedlings, and that's not a coincidence. So when you imagine the Edward mango, know that it gets much larger than this. I mean, they can be over a pound on average in many cases. These are certainly well under that. So they're not really representative in terms of size, and they won't be representative completely in terms of flavor either, because fruit that develops during the cooler months of the year is usually less sweet than the fruits that develop in the later spring and summer, and that's because the more heat, the sweeter the mangoes tend to be. It's kind of the opposite of citrus fruit, which needs a little kiss of cold to sweeten up, and that's true of a few other fruits too, I suppose. But mangoes, it's the opposite. Cold weather will actually reduce their bricks, and so the bricks being the total soluble solids, the sugars of the fruit.
All right, everybody, there it was. Hopefully after you saw that video, you're more encouraged to make Edward tree part of your trees that you have in your yard. When you're selecting different varieties, Edward tastes wonderful, and it's a disease resistant, well-known tree, and as Alex said, it produces pretty well there at his farm once you give the tree some TLC that all trees should have. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're not already subscribed, please subscribe. If you like these videos, I got so many more coming up that I just want to get this information out. It's my passion and my joy. And so that's the Edward tree. That's the history of this variety. Keep growing.